In the world of Formula One racing, penalties are often handed out for on-track collisions or infringements. However, during the Australian Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso found himself facing a penalty for an unusual maneuver that led to George Russell's dramatic crash on the last lap in Melbourne. Alonso was hit with a 20-second time penalty for his actions, which many deemed controversial. Let's delve into the details of what exactly transpired. Mercedes driver Russell had been hunting down Alonso with fresher tyres in the closing stages of the race and approached the rear of his relatively slow-moving Aston Martin rival at the turn 6/7 complex on the final lap, subsequently losing control and slamming into the barriers. The stewards noted the incident in the minutes after the race and, after reviewing the footage available and speaking to both drivers, handed Alonso a drive-through penalty that is converted to 20 seconds, dropping him from 6th to 8th place. Speaking immediately after the race, Russell had commented, "I really don't know what happened, to be honest. I was half a second behind Fernando on the entry of the corner and then suddenly, before the apex, I was right on his gearbox and lost the car, ran wide." In a lengthy document, the stewarding panel, which this weekend included former F1 driver Johnny Herbert, explained the reasons behind the decision to penalize Alonso. Alonso explained to the stewards that he intended to approach turn 6 differently, lifting earlier, and with less speed into the corner, to get a better exit, read the steward's report. Russell explained to the stewards that from his perspective, Alonso's maneuver was erratic, took him by surprise and caused him to close distance unusually fast, and with the resulting lower downforce at the apex of the corner, he lost control and crashed at the exit of the corner. There was no contact between the cars. Alonso explained that while his plan was to slow earlier, he got it slightly wrong and had to take extra steps to get back up to speed. Nonetheless, this maneuver created a considerable and unusual closing speed between the cars. As Russell's Mercedes lost control at turn 6, Alonso's Aston Martin was in close pursuit. What initially appeared as a solo incident quickly turned into a debate over Alonso's driving tactics. Glock believes the double world champion, a veteran of 380 Grand Prix, knew what he was doing. Alonso brakes very early and allows Russell to catch up, the former F1 driver told the media. Alonso's idea was to catch Russell off guard, slow him down, and then accelerate early to open a gap. Damon Hill said on the F1 Nation podcast that though the FIA was trying to stop and punish dangerous driving, the sport itself was extremely dangerous. He added that if a driver is trying to overtake, he should be more careful and prepared. "I do think this is where we get into the difficult area of what is racing and what is dastardly tricks. I think you have to assume that the FIA want to stop people doing things that are potentially dangerous, but then it is dangerous. Motor racing is dangerous. You have to be careful when you're going for a move on someone. If you're closing on him, you've got to be prepared for them to do things that are gamesmanship," Hill said to the podcast. In his column on Sky Sports, Martin Brundle criticized the 42-year-old's movement during the Australian GP. He added that the Spaniard used something similar back in 2003 against David Coulthard at Nürburgring. Brundle added how Alonso's move resulted in costly damage that Mercedes had to pay. "We've seen Alonso do that before in Nürburgring in 2003 against David Coulthard, and he had exactly the same playbook. Except this time, it caused a huge amount of costly damage for a team who could well be on his wish list," Brundle wrote. Opinions were divided. Was it a brake test by Alonso or merely a racing incident? To uncover the truth, let's turn to the cold hard facts and telemetry data. Telemetry shows that Alonso lifted slightly more than 100 meters earlier than he ever had going into that corner during the race. He also braked very slightly at a point that he did not usually brake, although the amount of brake was so slight that it was not the main reason for his car slowing, and he downshifted at a point he never usually downshifted. He then upshifted again, and accelerated to the corner before lifting again to make the corner. Alonso explained that while his plan was to slow earlier, he got it slightly wrong and had to take extra steps to get back up to speed. Nonetheless, this maneuver created a considerable and unusual closing speed between the cars. In considering the matter, the stewards focused solely on the wording of the regulation, which states, "At no time may a car be driven unnecessarily slowly, erratically or in a manner which could be deemed potentially dangerous to other drivers or any other person." Art 33.4. Specifically, in this case, the stewards have not considered the consequences of the crash. Further, the stewards considered that they do not have sufficient information to determine whether Alonso's maneuver was intended to cause Russell problems, or whether, as he stated to the stewards, that he simply was trying to get a better exit. Should Alonso have the right to try a different approach to the corner? Yes, should Alonso be responsible for dirty air that ultimately caused the incident? No, this season, the FIA Formula One penalty guidelines, including for this breach, have been reset and increased to a baseline of a 10s penalty. In addition, when there is some aggravating circumstance, we consider a drive-through penalty. In this case, we consider that Alonso affirmatively choosing to perform an unusual maneuver at this point to be an aggravating circumstance, as opposed to a simple mistake. The stewards therefore order a drive-through penalty, which will be converted to 20 seconds added to car 14's elapsed time, along with 3 penalty points. Alonso's explanation to the stewards was that he intended to take a different line through turn 6 to optimize his exit speed. However, his execution of the maneuver led to an unusual closing speed between the cars, creating a dangerous situation. Alonso defended his actions, claiming it was a strategic move aimed at defending his position. He argued that such tactics are common in motorsport and denied any malicious intent. "I wanted to maximize my exit speed from turn 6 to defend against him," he said. "That's what any racing driver would do, and I didn't feel it was dangerous. It's disappointing to get a penalty from the stewards for what was hard but fair racing. Still, I'm glad that George is okay. It was not nice to see his car in the middle of the track," said Alonso to the media. George Russell, on the other hand, described Alonso's driving as erratic and unexpected, leading to the sudden loss of downforce that caused his crash. Aston Martin, while surprised by the penalty, accepted the stewards' decision. Firstly, in motorsport everyone is relieved that George was okay and walked away after his accident. I want you to know that we fully support Fernando. He is the most experienced driver in Formula One. He has competed in more Grand Prix than anyone else and has more than 20 years of experience. He is a multiple world champion in multiple categories, Crack said. To receive a 20-second time penalty when there was no contact with the following car has been a bitter pill to swallow, but we have to accept the decision. We made our best case, but without new evidence we are unable to request a right of review. Fernando is a phenomenal racer and he was using every tool in his toolbox to finish ahead of George, just like we saw in Brazil last year with Sergio. This is the art of motorsport at the highest level. He would never put anyone in harm's way. Alonso's penalty, while controversial, sets a precedent for proactive enforcement of racing standards. Despite disagreement over the severity of the penalty, it underscores the importance of maintaining safety on the track. In the fast-paced world of Formula One, split-second decisions can have significant consequences. Whether Alonso's actions were intentional or not, the incident serves as a reminder of the fine line between competitive racing and dangerous driving. The incident involving Fernando Alonso at the Australian Grand Prix has sparked intense debate and divided opinions across the Formula One landscape. With insights from Damon Hill and Martin Brundle, we've gained valuable perspectives on the complexities of this controversial maneuver. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment your thoughts down below. Stay tuned for more updates, analysis, and expert commentary as the F1 season unfolds. Thanks for joining us today. See you on the next video.